Tonight on At Discovery Canada, a permanent side effect of violence. Students in Colorado witnessed an unimaginable horror this week, how previous shootings actually changed the brains of the people who saw their classmates die. Making sure your home computer makes it to the year 2000, how you can ring in the new year without a hitch or a glitch. Bumbling nerds or madmen without a conscience? Why Hollywood likes its scientists either to be evil or inept. And home ice advantage, calculating the real effect a crowd has on the players and the referees. Hello and welcome to At Discovery Canada. I'm Jay Ingram. Jill is on vacation. She'll be back Monday. Also on tonight's show, the Discovery Challenge, your chance to win prizes by predicting the often unpredictable course of nature. But we begin tonight with the frightening events at a Colorado high school and the impact that they will have on the people who witnessed them. Earlier this week, two teenage boys walked into Columbine High School just outside Denver and started shooting their classmates. 12 students and one teacher were killed in the rampage. Hundreds of students trapped in the building watched as the gunmen executed one student after another. This isn't the first time a student has killed his classmates. Tragedies like the one in Colorado are becoming more and more frequent in the United States and in Canada. And every time it happens, psychologists are assigned to assess the impact on the people who were forced to witness the horror. Following a shooting in Chicago in 1988, scientists discovered that that impact isn't just psychological, it can also be physical. And joining me now is Dr. Eitan Schwartz. He's the author of this study. He's also an assistant professor of psychiatry at Northwestern University Medical School. He joins us from Highland Park, Illinois. Hello, Dr. Schwartz.
Hello.
Dr. Schwartz, can you tell us what happened in the incident that you studied?
In May of 1988, a woman entered an elementary school in a suburb of Chicago, and in a boys' bathroom, she wounded one little boy and threatened two others, then went into a classroom and lined up the children, killed one while the classmates watched.
Now, what effects did the shooting have, particularly on the children who were either in the school or actually witnessed it?
The children suffered a variety of symptoms. Certainly the immediate effects on children, like adults, is to be very frightened, to feel very unsafe, to feel very helpless, to have trouble sleeping, to be very jumpy, to have crying spells, to feel tense, to have fast pulse, a variety of symptoms that are known as acute stress reaction.
Now, do those dissipate with time?
In the majority of people, these symptoms dissipate with time. There is a minority of anywhere between 20% and 40% where the symptoms persist, become chronic, and then the disorder is known as post-traumatic stress disorder.
Do you have any idea, Dr. Schwartz, as to, or at least in your study, how many of these elementary school kids actually went on to suffer that?
According to our figures, about 20% of the children and a similar number of the adults went on to suffer that.
Now, would you, and I know that this is guesswork, but would you anticipate that the high school kids in Littleton might suffer some of the same reactions as the elementary school children that you studied?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt, they will suffer the same type of symptoms and the same long-term outcomes.
Now, you know, I think we all could have anticipated that this would be would have terrible effects on children. I guess the important thing and the reason for doing studies like you did is to try and figure out how best to deal with these. So what could you do with the kids at, say, at Littleton?
Well, the first thing is to try to identify those and attempt to predict those who might require more help. The second thing is to try to understand what things can be done immediately that might have a beneficial effect later in preventing a bad outcome.
Any idea what those could be?
Unfortunately, we don't have a whole lot of very good data. The kind of interventions that are being done currently, while they make sense and they are important to do because we don't have necessarily anything else,
Right.
and they're humane, don't necessarily correlate with a good outcome.
Well, could you give me an example of one of those?
For instance, I think that the general name for what's being done is called debriefing, and debriefing has come under a fair amount of controversy in people who work with trauma because there is a substantial lack of evidence that it really has much of a long-term impact on the outcome.
Is there any evidence that there's actual long-term or maybe permanent changes in the brain?
There seems to be increasing evidence from various populations. There have been studies in, for instance, children who've been maltreated, who've been abused, to show that there are definite changes in the brain. There are studies in adults that show that there are physical changes in the brain. These studies are coming in as we speak, actually. These are being done currently.
Do you think there's any hope, Dr. Schwartz, that something could be done to mitigate the onset of those actual physical changes in the brain?
The basic science work that's being done does seem to show some promise in that the actual injury that happened in, let's say, Littleton is over. And what we have remaining is really the record of it in people's minds, in other words, the memories. And it's the type of memory that we are seeing that is really the malignant agent in this process. So if one can understand the process where memories are formed and interfere perhaps with their formation, then especially these types of traumatic memories, which are different from ordinary memories because they involve the life threat system, our ability to evaluate life threat and react to it. If we can understand something about how these memories are formed, then perhaps we can intervene.
Well, it sounds, unfortunately, Dr. Schwartz, as if, in fact, in many ways, we're still at the beginning of learning of how to deal with the victims of these traumas.
That is correct. That is correct.
Right. Well, thanks anyway, Dr. Schwartz. Nice to talk to you.
You're welcome. Nice to see you.
Dr. Eitan Schwartz is an assistant professor of psychiatry at Northwestern University Medical School. He joined us from Highland Park, Illinois.